So let's use this formula on the C major. So we're going to start on our root note of C, and we're going to build our major scale using the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So we're moving up in half steps and whole steps. We're going to move up 2 whole steps and then a half step, and then 3 whole steps and then a half step. So from C, the first one's a whole step. Now we know that a whole step is 2 half steps. So we move up 2 half steps, 1, 2, and we land on a D. So D is the second note in our C major scale, and it's not sharpened and it's not flattened. From the D, we know we have another whole step, so let's move up a whole step, 1, 2. We land on the E. So the E is the third note in this major scale. Now we have a half step. So we're going to move from E up a half step and we land on the F. So here we've moved up whole, whole, half. So the second half of the formula is whole, 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 half. So from F, let's move up a whole step, 1, 2, we land on the G. So this is our 5th note. From G, we move up a whole step, 1, 2, we land on the A, so this is our 6th note. From the A, we move up a whole note, 1, 2, we land on the B, this is our 7th note, and then we end the scale with a half step, which brings us back to C. So we have moved all the way up our scale using the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And this is easy to see on the C major scale because we can see our half step here between the E and the F, and we can see our half step here between the B and the C. And it's why it's always good to remind ourselves of the formula on a C major. So whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And that's our C major scale. So we're going to create a D major scale using the major scale formula. So the 8 notes of the scale will be D, E, F, G, A, B, C and D. So those are our 8 notes. What we need to do now is work out if any of those are sharpened or flattened. And to do this, we use the formula. So from the D, let's start on our root note. This is the major scale we're trying to find. We know the next note is an E, but we need to find out if it's sharpened or flattened. So we use the formula. So the first part of the formula is whole, which means from this D, we're moving up a whole step. And a whole step is 2 half steps. 1, 2. So we've landed on the E and it is not sharpened or flattened. Now the next note is an F, but we need to work out if it's sharpened or flattened. So we look at the formula and next it's telling us to move up a whole step. So we do that, 1, 2, we land on this black note. So it will be an F sharp. So it is sharpened. Now you might be asking, why is this not a G flat? Well, it's because we're not doing the G yet, we're on the F. We were working out the F and the formula brought us to this black note, so we know it's an F sharp. Now the next note of the scale is a G. We need to work out if it's sharpened or flattened. Our formula tells us to move up a half step. So we land on the G here, so it's not sharpened or flattened. Now the next note is an A. So is it sharp or flat? Let's take a look at our formula. We are moving up a whole step here. So 1, 2. We land on the A. It is not sharpened or flattened. Our next note is the B. We take a look at the formula. It tells us to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So no, this B is not sharpened or flattened. Next we have the C. So let's take a look at our formula. It tells us to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this black note. So yes, this C is sharpened. It's a C sharp. And our final note is easy because it's the D, and our formula, of course, tells us to move up a half step to the D. So we have worked out all of our notes: D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D. So we're going to make an E major scale using the major scale formula. So the 8 notes will be E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. So we have our 8 notes. We now need to work out if they're sharpened or flattened. So we bring up the formula. So we start on the E. We know that our next note is an F, but we need to work out if it's sharpened or flattened. So we look at the first part of the formula and we can see that it's a whole step. So we're moving up 2 half steps. 1, 2. And we land on this black note, so it is sharpened. It's an F sharp. You may be asking why it's not a G flat, because this black note can be 2 things. Well, that's because we're looking at the F at the moment. We haven't got to the G yet. We were just working out if the F was sharpened, and we had to move up a whole step from E. So yes, this is an F sharp. Now we know that our next note in the scale is a G. We need to work out if that's sharpened or flattened. So we look at our formula. We have to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this G sharp. So yes, it is sharpened. Now the next note in the scale is an A. So we need to work out if this A is sharpened or flattened. So we look at our next part of the formula. We have to move up a half step. So move up a half step. We land on the A. So no, it is not sharpened or flattened. So now let's look at the next note, which is a B. We look at our formula, we are moving up a whole step. So let's do that. 1, 2, we land on the B. So no, it is not sharpened or flattened. Our next note in the scale is a C. So let's work out if this is sharpened or flattened. So we take a look at the formula, we are moving up a whole step. So let's do that. 1, 2. So yes, the C is sharpened because we land on the black note here. Next, we need to look at the D. Is the D sharpened or flattened? So let's look at our formula. It's a whole step. 1, 2. We land here on this D sharp. So yes, it is sharpened. And then our last note is easy because it's the E. And of course, our formula tells us to move up a half step to land on it. And here are the notes of an E major scale. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. So we're going to work out the notes of an F major scale using the major scale formula. We know that our first note will be an F and we just move up through the notes of the piano. So let's write down those notes first. So we have F, G, A, B, C, D, E, and F. So these will be the 8 notes of an F major scale. Now what we need to do is work out if any of those notes are sharpened or flattened. And we do this using our formula. So we've got the notes of our F major scale here. We're on the F. We need to now move to the G, but we need to know if it's a sharp or a flat. So we look to our formula, and the first part of our formula is a whole. So this is a whole step. So from this F, we're going to move up a whole step, which is 2 half steps. 1, 2. And we land on the G here. So it's not sharpened and it's not flattened. So now we need to find the A. So we look at our formula, and from this G, we're moving up a whole step. So 1, 2, and we land on the A, and it is not sharpened and it's not flattened. So next, we need to find the B. So we look at our formula, and it tells us we're moving up a half step. So we are landing on this black note. So this B is flattened. This will be a B flat. You may be asking why it's not an A sharp. Well, we know we're looking for the B here. We already did the A. We already worked that out. This is the B we're working out. The formula told us to move up a half step, so we know this is a B flat. So next we're looking at the C. We know C is our next note. We just need to work out if it's sharpened or flattened. So we look at the formula and it's telling us to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this C and it's not sharpened or flattened. So next we're looking at the D. We need to know if it's sharpened or flattened. So we look at our formula and we are moving up a whole step. 1, 2. And we land on the D and no, it's not a sharp or a flat. Next, we need to work out the E. Is it sharpened or flattened? So we look to the formula. We can see we're moving up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on the E and no, it's not a sharp or a flat. And then of course the last bit's easy because we know we will end on the F. And you can see in the formula we're moving up a half step. So we have now worked out our F major scale. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. So for a G major scale, we know that our root note is a G. And then we just move up through the other notes. So we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F and G. So here is our scale notes for a G major. But now what we need to do is work out if any of these notes are sharpened or flattened. So we're going to use the formula for that. So let's take a look at our G major scale. We start on the note of G. We know that the next note will be an A, but we need to know if it's sharpened or flattened. So the first part of the formula is a whole step. So from G, we are moving up a whole step, which is 2 half steps. 1, 2. And we land here on this A. So no, it is not sharpened or flattened. So we need to find our next note, which is the B. Is the B sharpened or flattened? Well, the next step of the formula is a whole step. So we move up 2 half steps. 1, 2. 2 half steps. So we land on this B and no, it is not sharpened or flattened. So now we need to find the next note. It's the C. Is the C sharpened or flattened? So we look at the formula. It tells us we have to move up a half step. If we move up a half step, we land here on the C. So no, it is not a sharp or a flat. So now we need to work out the D. Is the D sharpened or flattened? Well, the formula tells us to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this D and no, it is not sharpened and not flattened. So now we need to find the E. Our formula tells us we are moving up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this E and no, it is not sharpened or flattened. So now we need to find the F. Is the F sharpened or flattened? Well, the formula tells us to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land on this black note. This is an F sharp. So yes, the F is sharpened. And lastly, we need to land on the G, which is nice and easy. The formula says a half step, and we can move up a half step here to land on the G. And we know the G won't be sharpened or flattened because this is a G major scale. And now we have all our notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So we're going to create an A major scale using the major scale formula. So for an A major scale, it's nice and simple because we start on the A and we just move up through the notes. So the notes of an A major scale will be A, B, C, D, E, F, G and A. What we need to do now is work out if any of these notes are sharpened or flattened, and that's where the formula comes in. So we start on our root note for this scale, which is the A. What we need to do now is move up to the B, and we need to work out if the B is sharpened or flattened. So we look to our formula and it says we have to move up a whole step. So from this A, we move up a whole step. So we land on the B, and no, it is not sharpened or flattened. Now our next note in the formula is a C, and we need to work out if this is sharpened or flattened. So we look at the next part of the formula and it's a whole step, which is 2 half steps. So from this B, we move up 2 half steps and land on this C sharp. So the C is sharpened because we had to move up a whole step. Now our next note in the scale is a D, and we need to work out if this is sharpened or flattened. So we look at the next part of the formula, it's a half step. So we move a half step up to the D. So no, it is not sharpened or flattened. Now our next note is an E. Is this sharpened or flattened? So let's take a look at the formula. We need to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we've landed on the E, and no, it's not a sharp or a flat. Now from here we need to find the F. So let's see if this is sharpened or flattened. Our next part of the formula says we need to move up a whole step. 1, 2. So we land here on an F sharp. So yes, the F is a sharp. So next we're looking at the G. Is the G a sharp or a flat? Well, the next part of the formula tells us we're moving up a whole step. So let's do that. 1, 2. So yes, it is sharpened. And then finally, we're going to land on the A to finish. And of course, the formula tells us to move up a half step. So now we have worked out that there are 3 sharps in the A major scale. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. We're going to create a B major scale using the major scale formula. So from the B, we need to write down our notes. Now all major scales have 8 notes in them. So first up, let's write down what the notes will be. So we start at B and we just move up through the notes. So B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. So here are our 8 notes of the B major scale, but we need to work out if any of those notes are sharpened or flattened. So let's do that using the formula. So we bring it up. So now let's use the formula to work out if any of these notes are sharpened or flattened. So we start on the B because it's the B major scale. We know that the next note is a C, but we need to work out if it's sharpened or flattened. So we look at the first part of the formula and it's a whole step. So we move up a whole step, which is 2 half steps. 1, 2. And we land on this black note. So this is a C sharp. Now you may be asking why we're not calling this a D flat, but that's because we're not on the D yet. We're working out the C. We knew the next note was a C. We just needed to work out if it was sharp or flat. So from the B, we moved up 2 half steps. So the C is sharpened, so C sharp. Our next note is the D. We need to work out if this is a D sharp or a D flat. So we look at our formula and it tells us to move up a whole step. So we do that, 1, 2, we land on the D sharp. So yes, this D is sharpened. Next, we have an E. We need to work out if the E is sharpened or flattened. So we look at our formula and we need to move up a half step. So let's do that. We land on the E. So no, this E is not sharpened and it's not flattened. Now the next note is an F. So let's work out if that's sharpened or not. The formula is telling us to move up a whole step. So from this E, we move up 1, 2. And we land on F sharp, so yes, it was sharpened. Now from this F sharp, the next note we have to find is the G. So is this G sharpened or not? So let's look at the formula. It's telling us to move up a whole step. So let's do that, 1, 2. So we land on a G sharp. Yes, it is sharpened. Our next note is the A. So let's look at our formula. It tells us to move up a whole step. So let's do that. 1, 2. So yes, this A is sharpened and this is an A sharp. And then the last note we know will be a B because this is a B major scale and the formula is telling us to move up a half step. So now we have created all the notes of a B major scale. B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, B.